Centerville-Washington History is constantly coming up with new ways to share our great history with the community. And here's one more. It's called Chats. And here to tell us more, we have Cheryl Meyer and Joellen Ulliman, and also Ed Ross, all from the Historical Society, which is also known as Centerville-Washington History. So it's kind of interchangeable there. But this is exciting because you all do so many great programs, and just when you think, how can you come up with something else? Now you're taking this program out to the community, right, Cheryl?
That is correct.
Tell us about it.
That's the name on the road. Well, first of all, it is a very exciting time to be part of Centerville-Washington History. We've got new exhibits and programming and one thing
events a go-go. I mean, come on.
Exactly. But we have an outreach to the community, and in one way we do that is through a program like this, On the Road Chats, and they are 45-minute to 60-minute presentations. There is a fee for that, $50, and
very nominal.
Very nominal. Yeah. But we have historians who share their research, two of which are right here with me. They share their research and their knowledge of significant events and historical facts, and it's a way to let the community know the rich heritage that we have right in Centerville-Washington Township.
And we drive past it all the time.
Every day.
I don't know that people even think about all the various museums that we have, but here's a way to really delve into, kind of do a deep dive for an hour, which is also a very manageable amount of time. But you are hearing about it from the experts for sure. And I know, Joellen, you've got a really cool presentation. Tell us what you're going to be talking about.
Sure. My presentation is entitled World War I, A Sense of Local Sacrifice. And it's a big tribute to the fact that World War I was the war to end all wars, which we know didn't really happen in history. But we had 51 boys or men from Washington Township serve in that war. And the United States was only involved for one short year, yet it was a very important involvement, and we helped bring it to a close on Armistice Day, which is November 11th, 1918, which we just celebrated the 100-year anniversary. But when we think 51 boys, that is tremendous. That's 15% of our population at the time. We were under 400 residents, and yet 51 people went to serve.
Wow.
Amazing. Now, we found service records for 49 of those men from Ohio. So, but we broke down, we had one more Marine, we had some in the Navy, we had the majority of men served in the Army. We had some brothers serve together. We also had a father and a son serve together as well.
Do we have records? Is that how you put the presentation together? You just went through it?
We have service records, and people in our historical society have done some wonderful research, and we have a book called A Sense of Service, and it has all the service records in there from these earlier wars. So I started with research. I also started creating exhibits, and this started as an exhibit, then became a presentation as well, and then delved in deeper into other stories. Can I tell one of my favorite stories?
Sure.
one of the men who served, his name was Wilbert Lucas, and Wilbert served with his brother Robert. They were farm boys, and they went off to World War I. They served at Meuse-Argonne, which was like the final movement of the war, which brought it to a close. It was a 47-day battle. And Wilbert, these are gloves from his uniform. This is also his gas mask, and also his helmet.
So during these presentations, you're not just going to hear a story, you're going to see actual artifacts, right?
Well, the coolest thing is, too, his daughter is a member of our historical society, so I was able to talk to her. And you're going to hear personal stories during the presentation. You're going to hear a little bit about what that took. And you're also going to find out what a great community that we live in, because people here care, they serve, and they support. And people back here in Centerville did support through the Red Cross movement and through other means as well.
And tell us the name of that program again.
It's called World War I, A Sense of Local Sacrifice.
And these chats do include PowerPoint. They all come with a PowerPoint presentation, as well as storytelling and an artifact display such as this.
Yeah, and to book, they would contact you, right, Cheryl?
They would contact me.
Because this would be great for a club,
right,
any kind of group to get together to learn more about it. And I know, Ed, you talk, one of your presentations is about Ida Weller, who's a little close to your heart, right, in many, many ways.
Yep. Ida Weller was arguably the most famous woman in Centerville. She lived from 1890 to about 1950. And she was multifaceted. She was a musician, a playwright. She thought of herself as just a farmer's wife. She had 3,000 chickens. that she had an egg farm, and those who have been in Centerville for a long time remember driving down Clio Road and seeing Weller's Farm Fresh Egg sign out on Clio Road, and that's when the egg farm was active. She started the first adult school in Centerville for those farmers who, after working in the fields all day, could come to her adult school and get an education and hear nationally acclaimed speakers. She wrote plays. She founded the Mandolin Society, and we have her mandolin, beautiful instrument.
How did you get all these items of hers?
Well, I happen to live in her house.
Just
And
happened.
Judy Willer, who is her granddaughter, we bought the place from, and she has given us tons of family memorabilia, scrapbooks of her writings, some of her furniture, and most of this we put into our museums, and it's cataloged to keep forever in our archives, so those memories will never be lost. But my talk about Ida Weller is about her, all of the things she did, and a little bit about her old farm that used to be 160 acres right off of Clio Road, and now it's a 4-acre property with the house and the barns and the chicken house.
And that's a great talk to hear about, because I think we all know of Ida Weller School. So we know there's a school, but we don't know all of these wonderful, interesting, really ahead of her time things that she did for our community.
She really was. It's hard to believe how many different things she did in her lifetime. Another talk I do is about the old Centerville Cemetery. Now, a lot of people know about the cemetery that's on Maple Avenue next to, what school is it?
Stingley.
Stingley
On
School.
Cemetery Drive, right?
That's,
On
Yeah.
Cemetery Drive.
Easy way to know.
that's kind of the new Centerville
right.
Cemetery. The old cemetery is off of Route 48 behind the little Mexican place called La Chiapas, I think. A little gravel drive back, and that's the oldest cemetery that hasn't been used since 1970 something. Dr. John Hole is buried. Here's his tombstone. That's where two of the city founders, Benjamin Robbins and
Aaron Nutt.
Aaron Nutt, are buried there. So some very famous people in the history of Centerville. And so we take a little tour with pictures of the different graves and tell some of the history of the people who are buried there. But that's the oldest historical cemetery in Centerville. The third little chat I do is just about Centerville in general, and it shows some of the old stores. There's the one corner in Centerville that's now a salon, and that's what it looked like back in the day, back in 1830 when it was built. And we have lots of photographs of the stone houses and the famous buildings, and we throw in history like behind Route Song Funeral Home is where one of the city founders, when he came to build his log cabin, had to ask his neighbors to clear 100 rattlesnakes out of his backyard before he could build his cabin. So there's lots of little historical stories that we throw in as we show pictures of the different famous places in Centerville. So it's a nice little tour through some of the architecture and buildings in Centerville.
Well, they all sound fascinating. You have additional as well, right?
We do. We have a total of 9 chats and 5 speakers. But all of the speakers, and especially these two, they all captivate the audience.
Yeah.
You become history when you listen to these chats.
And especially when we talk about, this is an area that people are familiar with. You might drive past a cemetery, you go past these houses, heard these names, and here's a way to find out more information about our history. And I know we see on the screen a few more of the other subjects. So if there's something that catches your attention, which I don't know why all of them wouldn't, really the best thing to do is to call you, Cheryl.
Absolutely,
Right?
and I will do all the scheduling and take it from there.
So they're about an hour,
That is correct.
and you're really going to get to know whatever that topic is.
That is
So
correct.
As you go through, and you talk on 3 different subjects, any favorite?
They're all kind of interesting.
Yeah.
I guess my favorite is Ida Weller because she did so much and she's not that well known. So I think when people hear about her and some of her stories, I think that's a lot of fun. I might add, some of the venues we go to, like the noon Optimist Club and stuff, don't have an hour. They only have a half hour. So my talks can be a half hour and a half hour or an hour, depending on how much I want to talk about it and input from the audience.
Yeah.
What's fun about
Absolutely.
these is everywhere we go, someone has a relative or someone knows an additional story, and that's what really makes these things lively, is when someone in the audience says,
Right.
oh yeah, I used to buy eggs at the egg farm. And we get to talking about that.
So you're all very accommodating with schedules.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, these two, they are so passionate about their topics as well as our other speakers. So
Thank you.
I know,
Thank you.
and we were going to almost have a history lesson during the show. But Joellen, with the items that you have, you said they were given to you by the daughter, or the granddaughter. Some items.
Some items are from Wilbert,
Okay.
because some are from like Malcolm Merrill, who was another one of our vets, and some other folks as well. I just happened to bring these two that happened to come from Wilbert's uniform, and three, the helmet as well.
And you really take people back in time and to share the whole emotion.
Well, the war was so horrifying. It was just grueling. It's the first time that gas was dropped behind enemy lines. It's the first time we had airplanes thanks to our Wright brothers. So, now all of a sudden their enemy's not right in front of you, the enemy's in front of you and overhead. It was a whole different type of war. And it took place in Europe, and I think about these kids coming from Washington Township, from their family farms, and all of a sudden they're thrown into this situation. And most of the fighting took place along the Western Front. There was an Eastern Front as well, but where our boys were, that was the Western Front, and it was a trench war. They had dug in a trench, and they called the places in between, they called it no man's land. It was 440 miles of torture, and then in between, they'd come out and they would fight, or they'd fight in the trenches and live there. So it's just a wonderful sacrifice for them to serve. And we only lost one soldier out of the 51. We only lost one in a battle about a month before the war was over.
Wow.
I know.
That's amazing.
It's amazing.
So this was from an exhibit you had said.
Yes.
And you are getting ready to unveil a new exhibit as well, right?
Well, I unveiled one already.
Okay.
It's the Woodburn exhibit.
Okay.
And it's Woodburn, a sense of manufacturing, of a manufacturing legacy. And that's at the Walton House, and it's open now all the way through the beginning of next December. And then in the Asheville Wright House, there will be a new exhibit opening at the end of March, and it's about bridal history. And so it's a whole different vibe, something completely different. So it should be fun. Everybody should come out and see it.
And with these chats, you can talk to school kids, I guess, or scout groups, all the way up to groups that are...
we can accommodate just about any group. If there's an interest, we'll make it work. We would also be happy if there's a specific interest and we don't have a chat created for it. We can do that.
That's how accommodating you all are.
Right. It's just the love of history. I mean, it's an exciting time at Centerville-Washington History. I know.
I agree.
So
and
much
I would
fun.
encourage people to even stop by if you're out and about. Your hours. You have three museums, really. Tell us about them and their locations.
Well, the Asher Wright Museum, the Walton House Museum, and the Air Nut Cottage. We're open Tuesday through Friday, 12 to 4. If somebody needs to, wants to come outside of hours, we could, work something out as well.
And if for some reason you're clearing out your grandparents, your parents' home, and you come across some artifacts that you think might be junk, call you all first, right?
That would be
because
Joellen.
you definitely want to go through it and find out some of that stuff from the 50th exhibit. The telephone from 1968. Somebody's had that hanging around.
Had that in their home. So yes, we're happy to take a look at whatever you have.
Okay, and again, for more information about it's on the road chats, very $50. I think that's a very nominal fee to speak to your
And
group.
that goes to all to CWA. It goes to all to Centerville-Washington Township.
So that's not going to your speaker. That's helping the.
That's going back to our
Society.
correct.
You can feel free to call the number on your screen, 291-2223, or you can always call the City of Centerville at 433-7151. I want to thank you all for, it's so exciting. I agree, it's contagious because you have such a love of history. And on behalf of our community, thank you for preserving our history and for sharing our history for those here today and for those here to come.
Thank you for having us.
You're welcome. It's a pleasure.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks for watching. For more information, you can always visit our website, centervilleohio.gov. We'll see you next time.